first met Maria in Calgary in September 2015. It was a chance meeting in a place that I normally would never go. It was Princess Island Park in Calgary. I was babysitting for our daughter and her husband who were doing a wedding, and my daughter was still nursing. So I had a long day with her, and it was getting to the end of the day, and I was so tired I just wanted to go sit in the sun. And I saw on the hill two picnic benches. One of them had this lady sitting on it, and the other was empty, but the empty one was in the shade, and I wanted the sun. So I said, okay, fine, I'll just go sit down with this lady, and I had a headache, it didn't feel like it, and I went and sat with my little stroller and a crying baby. Maria just started talking to me about the baby and asking about nursing and saying that's the best, and I was like very intrigued, because I was like, what? Usually people don't say things like that. And our conversation continued, and I said, what do you do? And Maria said, I've been in nutrition and healing with nature for 30 years. And I was like, you have? And I told the story of Dan's bone infection, and Maria said, I can help you. And I told about feeling desperate and that we were looking for the next step, because nothing was working, and it had been almost 5 years of struggling with this infection. So as Maria and I, the sun was going down and we started walking, and I started explaining a few details that in the spring, an infectious diseases specialist had said there's nothing else that we can do for Dan. And I said, we are looking for solutions. And this summer we heard about bentonite clay, and we used that to draw the infection out. And Dan's been using that, had been using it about 30 to 40 days, and it did draw the infection out. But what it also did was help it come to light that there was a bigger issue than just a little bone infection, and that Dan was in serious trouble. I explained just a few things that I had bought, but I didn't know what to do with it, that were from the health food store, or anyway, Maria said, oh, that's great. And she said, you are on the right track. And I said, you are an answer to my prayers, because we've been praying for the next solution.
So my wife and I were going to go to Hawaii, and we thought that was a great idea, and it was. And then I put my sandals on, and I was wondering, why is, it was wintertime, it was January, and I had my skates on, because we had a skating rink we were skating on, and my one foot felt so tight, and I thought, why is that? However, didn't pay any attention to it, but as we were getting ready to go to Hawaii, I put my sandals on, and then I realized that I had this sore on my foot. And so I thought, that's weird. Where did that? And it was called a Brody's abscess. It was right between my ankle bone and my heel, and there was just this big bump there, and the strap of my sandal went right over it, and it really caused discomfort to part of our holidays. And we thought, okay, we got to deal with this when we get home. So I went to my doctor, and she sent me to a specialist. Long story short, we had I think a very excellent doctor who took the Brody's abscess off, but the way we can figure is, and what the surgeon said as well, as what happened was she nicked an encapsulated infection that was in my heel, and because of the recent surgery, the infection was able to surface through the very surgery that she had made. And so after the surgery, things were healing up very nicely and closing up nicely, and then all of a sudden this oozing started coming up through the incision. And my surgeon saw that, and she thought, And you need to understand that while I'm after the surgery, of course, I was put on a very heavy dose of antibiotics to make sure that the infection would or that there would be no infection. And so I was on these antibiotics, and this oozing is not stopping. So I went back again to my surgeon, saying, "This is still happening, and what do we do about it?" And she said, "Okay, we need to go in there again and make sure that we get all the infection out of your bone." And so then I had my second surgery, and long story short is it even called for a third surgery that we did, and then she thought for sure she had all the infectious area cleaned out of my bone. And so every time I'm having my surgery, I'm given these antibiotics, and I'm also carrying around a PICC. I have a PICC line in me with antibiotics which are being pumped into me every day, and this goes on for several months. I think 3 months. And at the end of the day, nothing was happening. And after the third surgery, she said, "You know what? I'm going to hand you over to an infectious disease doctor." And so then I was handed over to him, and then under his guidance, he gave me some stronger antibiotics, which I took. And again, I was on these for a long time, and nothing seemed to happen. And so it was really disheartening, actually, because after taking all these antibiotics, we thought, okay, well, that should kill the problem, but it wasn't. And it would kind of happen like this. It would the wound would kind of seal over, and then we thought, okay, great. But then after about 3 or 4 days, pressure would build up, and then it would just blow the top. It's like a little volcano. It would just pop open, and then it would just kind of soak into my Band-Aid, and then the pressure would be gone, and we'd feel, I feel so much better. And then 3-4 days, like you'd almost set your watch to it. It would happen that often, and then it would just keep occurring. And like Cheryl was saying, we got to the point where, like, okay, what do we do? And we were just already praying, okay, we need something else here to do, because we're obviously not getting anywhere the way we're going. So then it came to the point where, like Cheryl said, the doctor finally said, "You know what? There's nothing we can do for you. Honestly, you might as well quit taking your antibiotics, because they're obviously not doing any good." So I thought, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'll quit taking my antibiotics. And then I thought, wow, that's it. And I've been told before by several physicians that sometimes people just live with this. And I thought, wow, that's terrible that people have to just live with this. And so Cheryl and I did. We just kind of, okay, well, we just put up with it. And months later, we finally came to a point where, okay, this, I guess, you know what, it kind of happened. It was one weekend, it kind of was more dramatic than other times. We were on a retreat with several other people, and that night I went to bed and I took my sock off, and my sock was literally, it had a large area on the sock that was literally wet with an ooze and with blood. And that had never happened before. And I thought, whoa, what's happening here? There's a change here. And from that point on, we said, okay, we got to do something. If there's nothing else out there that we can do to follow instructions with, then let's see what we can do for ourselves. Okay, so what I've said is that we got to the point where we really got to where we needed to do something. And I had a lady in my office, and she was talking about something they had dug a piling for, something they needed, and they hit an artesian spring. and that came through this pipe. Well, the pipe was supposed to be an anchor for a bridge, not an artesian wellhead. So they dumped bentonite down this wellhead, or down this pipe. And she said, just flippantly, she said, and apparently it has some healing powers or healing compounds to it as well. And I went, healing compounds? And so I very quickly looked it up on the internet. And it was interesting because Cheryl had almost at exactly the same time had been introduced to that idea as well. So we kind of went down this trail a little bit, and the reason we started doing things on our own was because basically the physicians I had been seeing really said, Dan, there's nothing more we can do. And in fact, we need to keep an eye on it, because if it gets too bad, your whole foot gets infected, and then it's obvious that they have to remove the infected part, which is amputation. So that is also something that they told me that I was like, wow, I'm not okay with that. And I like walking on both my feet. So what can we do to help fix that? And so after 3 years of extensive antibiotic doses, 3 surgeries, no, after 4 years of this, 3 surgeries, all this antibiotic, and some of it was excessively stronger than others, so just a pile of that stuff. Nothing was working, and now we're into, okay, what can we do on our own to fix this? And really, honestly, not very many people are put into this position where they got to figure this out, and it can actually become a life-threatening thing. So what we did is we got this bentonite clay. It was green clay, as a matter of fact, and I started putting it on the infected areas of my foot, just my foot. And I did this for about, probably 3 to 4 weeks, and then stuff hit the fan. We were on a weekend away, and I felt tender behind my ears. And we'd kind of been dabbling with essential oils too, a little bit. And I thought, well, maybe I put too much of the oils behind my ear. But we got home that weekend, and all of a sudden, the wheels completely fell off the wagon.